Hi, this is Jeanette, and welcome to The Bridge Within. I think for the next couple of videos, I will talk about dreams, what they are, and how to decipher them, and some of the dreams that I have that have given me hope or given me warning or have brought about change in my life. Anyways, so I would like it if you would also share your experiences with dreams and what they have meant for you. So, do you remember there used to be this TV show, and I forget what the name of it was, but it was on like one of the cable channels, and it was about someone that would talk about their dream, and they would kind of show you a visual about the dream, and then they'd have a dream interpreter, a professional dream interpreter, interpret what the dream meant. And I remember at the time that I really enjoyed the show, but I felt so disappointed because the dream interpreter or interpreters of the show really were of the belief that dreams were basically just there was just basically one type of dream, and that would be a dream that would help you work out a problem in your life. And I do believe that some dreams are like that. Some dreams we dream that help us work out a problem in our life. And they are hard to interpret and they don't make a lot of sense for us unless we get a good feel on what they're about. And luckily now with the internet, you can go online and you can look up some really nice interpretations. There's a lot of like dream dictionaries online. And when dealing with a dream, just um, remember to only accept what rings true to you. And when you're interpreting your dreams through a dream dictionary, go through each thing that you remember about the dream. Really go into it detailed and look what each item in your dream could represent. So I find that to be very helpful when I don't understand a dream. And then I'm lucky I have people that I can talk to and ask them what they might think of a dream if I feel like it's something that's really important that I need to understand. So before making this video, I decided that I would go online and see what the definition of a dream is or the purpose of a dream is. And I was really pleasantly surprised to see that what I read was much more open to what dreams can be or the purpose of dreams can be than what that TV show was. And one of them I never thought about was if you've been emotionally hurt, they can help you heal from that emotional hurt. And so I just think that's so wonderful that sleep is so important. It's not only important for our physical health, but for our emotional or mental health also. And for our soul. I think they're important for our soul. And of course, they were right. Dreams can help us with our everyday situations. Like, who of you has not gone to work and then come home and dream about work that night and worked all night long in your work at work and then wake up totally exhausted to have to go and get ready for that work that day. So I mean, you just feel like that's all you've done for like the last 2 days is work, work, work. And I have had that happen to me when I am starting a new job and in the process of training. And it's exhausting, but it's my experience that these dreams have helped me to really understand and grasp the training session so much easier than I normally would, which is great for me because I don't have the best memory and never have. I would be terribly worried if I had a good memory in my younger years and this is what I was like today, but I've always been like this, a little scattered. So I have found that helpful. And then let's see what else have they said. They, I mean, they've just talked like about. I think I can't remember exactly what I read, but my experience is you can have visitation dreams where spirits can come and talk to you. You can have hauntings. I have had bad spirits visit me, but most of the time they're good spirits and they've been so beautiful that I wake up and I just weep. I weep for out of love, out of joy, and so for gratitude that they came and visited me. I've also had dreams to help me understand the spiritual side of me, what I'm going through spiritually, and I've had dreams. Let's see here. Not only dreams of people have come to me, but animals have come to me too. I'm sure that I am not special. I'm sure a lot of you have had these experiences. There's also dreams of warning. I've had that. And dreams of, like, I was looking where to move, and we were looking at moving to Sequim, Washington. And that would have been so far away from my friends who all live just on the other side of Tacoma. And if you look at it, would have been over 100-mile drive just to go see friends. And they brought up this one area that I might look into moving, but unfortunately, I can't swing that on my own. And my partner, he just wasn't interested in living there, even though it's a very beautiful area on the Key Peninsula. So, anyways, there's other things. I mean, just I challenge you to go and look up what the reason for dreams are. There are many reasons for them. So I'm trying to think of one of the earliest dreams I've had that, as an adult, that has greatly impacted my life. And one of the dreams that came to mind is when I was a young mother. I had 3 children, in just within like 3 years, maybe 3 years and 1 month. So I was really a busy mom. They were really a handful, of course, because they're toddlers, and young kids are just busy. But I remember there was a neighbor who had a workman there, and he had been there for quite a while, and he was scruffy looking, and yeah, I mean, but he didn't appear to be mean or anything. I never thought much of him. I just thought, oh, that's interesting. He's still there. He's still working on that house. And one night, I had a dream about him that he knocked on my door. I answered the door, and he proceeded to hurt me and my children in the most terrible ways. And that really shook me. But I still didn't hold it against that man because it was just a dream, right? So why would I? Why would I hold that against him? Well, I didn't think much of it. And then, I don't think any reason at all, I don't know why he would come to my house, but he came to my house during the day when my husband was away and knocked on my door. And normally at that time, I was so naive and so trusting that I would just answer the door to anyone. I never thought twice about just answering the door. And honestly, we didn't live in the best area, but it really didn't stop me. We were pretty close to where one of the Green River murderers' homes. So, and not that far away from a highway 99 where the Green River murderer would pick up his victims. So, but my neighborhood felt safe. So I normally would just open the door to them. And luckily, I had that dream because I didn't open the door. And I just watched through my peephole, made sure the door was locked, and just watched him until he left. And then I felt so grateful. I felt so grateful that I had that dream. Now, would he have come and hurt me and my children? I can't say. I don't know because I didn't open the door to him to find out. But I'm glad I had that dream. And even if he wasn't going to hurt me, that was a great lesson for me to stop answering the door to just anyone. And so I kind of changed my policy after that. That really shook me up. I wish I could say that I had a lot of dreams after that dream about the man, but I don't remember. I don't remember any of them. I just don't think at the time I was sleeping well because I was always stressed out. I had 3 children within a year and 1 month, and they were very active, and some of them had special needs. And I had a mother in law who was senile and needed a lot of help. I was trying to take care of my house, her house, both yards, and hers was an acre. And I was also I've been dealing with debilitating headaches by the time I was 18 on. And it got to the point that when my kids were young adults, that I was spending about a third of my time in bed just because I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink, I couldn't even go to the bathroom because I was in so much pain. And I'm trying to think what else was going on. There was just a lot going on. Oh, my husband also was a dentist. He had a practice. And so whenever someone called out, a lot of times I had to go in. And if I couldn't find childcare, well, I'd bring the kids with me. It wasn't ultimate, but that's what we had to do. It it just, I don't know. Oh, we were Mormon on top of it. And if you know anyone that's a Mormon, you know that that church expects you to work and you work hard. And so I was busy trying to do what they expected out of me. I honestly do not know how I did it, but God helps us get done what we need to get done. So I just really was never sleeping well. And I just don't think I ever got into that deep sleep where I needed to be to have the dreams. And that didn't start up until I think my kids were young adults at the time. And um, about that time, like 2000, I want to say 2007, 2006, 2007, we just had a whole slew of deaths. And before that, the only deaths I ever had experienced was my grandfather when I was a senior in high school. And that was a huge loss. And it I it took me forever to even deal with that. I still miss them dearly. And then some dogs, which also are, you love your dogs, that's devastating too. But honestly, you know, the dogs are expected. The grandfather was expected. So that was those were the only deaths I ever dealt with before that, and they weren't close together. So I had time to grieve between each loss. Well, when my kids were young adults, we did not have that time to grieve. All of a sudden, we had all these deaths in the family, and it was just bam, 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 bam within probably 2 or 3 years. And they were big deaths. The family dog went first, and she was a big part of my children's growing up years. And then we had my grandmother, who was a huge part of our life. She passed away. And then my mother in law passed away, who I loved dearly and had some of the great, she was another woman that had great influence in my life. And then my father in law passed away. Those were huge deaths. Those were really close to us. And my father in law, I was just starting to really get to know him and to really appreciate him and to truly grow to love him. Before, I found him a little scary. But when he needed help and we started helping out, I just grew, I discovered what a wonderful person he was. And and in between that time, I also had some minor deaths. Like I had a couple that I used to go see on a fairly regular basis because I was her visiting teacher, the wife's visiting teacher. And so when we'd see her, we would see him too. And they were just adorable. They were she was almost 100, and she was like the original cougar because he was 12 years younger, but they were so in love and they just really meshed well, and they were just fun. They were fun. I really missed them too. So with all these deaths, I started listening to more spiritual things. I was still a Mormon, but I was starting to feel like more of the spirit when I would read um, James Von Prague. I think that's his name. And he talked about spirituality, and he would give you things to practice when you're trying to open up. And I just thought it was funny that I felt more of the spirit when I would watch these spiritual shows. I was also watching a lot from Dr. Raymond Moody. He was the one that coined the phrase the near death experience. And I used to love to read his books, but I stopped reading his books when his book Reunion came out, Reunions. And that is where he talks about um, I think it was the Romans or maybe the Greeks, where they would spend a month preparing themselves spiritually to have these experiences where they would meet their loved ones. And they would like go into these caves and eat really healthy and just pray. And they would just spiritually get their body and their mind and their spirit ready. And by the end of that month, they would go to this pool in the cave, and it had reflection, they had light so they could see the reflection, and often in the reflection, they would have the spiritual experience and see their loved ones. Well, when I was younger, I wasn't ready for that. To me, that was really scary. It was too woo woo for me. I was told that was not right because my mom's Jehovah's Witness and I was Mormon and we just weren't supposed to dabble and stuff like that. But when all these people died, I was beginning to want to talk to my grandmother, especially because she would never say no to us grandkids. There were a lot of us. She had 13 children and, a lot of grandchildren, but she made us all feel special. And so when I had at that time, I was having these debilitating headaches where I was in bed for a third of the month. So I thought, I want to talk to her. I just need to talk to her. And so what I did is I read Dr. Raymond's book and started to do something that's called mirror gazing. And when I would have a headache, I would lay out, that wasn't like where I needed to be in a really dark room, but like not one of my most severe headaches, but a headache where I could lay in the living room and keep tabs on all the kids and everything. I would lay on the couch and I would look into this mirror that reminded me of my grandmother because she had one just like it. She had picked it up at the garage sale. I had picked mine up at the garage sale because it looked like my grandmother's. And so I would just look into it and really try to see my grandmother. And I did this for a long time. When I'd go to Eugene, Oregon and see my father-in-law, I would look, it's well, before bed, I would look into the mirror, this other mirror that he had that was really fancy, and try to look into it. And by then I was starting to see stars. So that's the main thing, it's working. You'll start to see stars and then a fog, or maybe it's the fog first and then stars. I can't remember. It was so long ago. And then you'll start having visions. Well, I was too scared, I think, to have these experiences through the mirror. So I never had the experiences through the mirror beyond that. And instead, like Dr. Raymond Moody would say, a lot of times, people will come into your dreams because you feel safer. And I cannot recommend his book enough. I mean, it's a wonderful book. But do remember to practice protecting yourself through prayer and whatever makes you feel safe, because there are good and bad spirits, spirits that'll play tricks on you to scare you, and even really dark entities that will try to take over you. So do not make the mistake I made and just jump into it. Make sure to know how to protect yourself first. So when I was doing this one night, I was trying to see my grandmother, but I think what was the first dream? One of my first dreams was a very good friend that also died about that same time. She taught my children piano, and we would talk a lot after the piano lesson. And she was so sweet, and I learned so much from her. And it was her, Mary Wilkin, who came through, and she and I had a lovely conversation. And I had left the church and hadn't really talked to her before she passed. So I was worried about what she would think of me. But it was like we just started up where we left off. We just had the most beautiful visit. What it was about, I honestly can't tell you. But if you had asked me at the time I had woken up, I could tell you all about that conversation. It was real. She was there, and she was happy, and she was loving, and she made me feel so loved and accepted, even though I was leaving this church that she loved. She didn't judge me for it. And then I would say shortly after that, another person that came in was another person of the church. It was the man that was married to the woman that I had talked about earlier, the older couple. And he was always kind of a jokester, and he was kind of funny. He had a good sense of humor, and he liked to make you laugh. And he was on the stage performing this like comedy skit, and I was in my sleep and I was just laughing, laughing, laughing. And I woke myself up because I was laughing out loud. And I know it was him. It felt so real. He was trying to cheer me up, and he knew I was going through a hard time. I really believe he came to cheer me up. And it was funny because, as a side note, my ex-husband at the time was on the other side of the bed, and he was having this dream that I was stepping out on him, and he was very upset, having a very bad dream, and I'm over here giggling. So I can't imagine that giggle helped his dream much, but I don't know, I found that kind of humorous. But anyway, yeah, it was him that came second to Miss Charlie Abendroth. And then after that, I want to say, no, I'm trying to reach my grandmother. I'm still doing this mirror gazing all the time, and my grandma's not coming through. This felt like everyone else was coming through. My kids, I can't remember everyone that came through. I should have written it down, but because I thought at the time I would just remember, but you do forget. Um, Even my dog Kirby came through. And it was lovely. She just walked into my arms and kind of, gave me a doggy hug, and I was hugging her. She just like in her doggy voice saying, I love you, I love you, I love you. And it was just lovely. Oh, it's just absolutely lovely to see her and see that she's doing good and see that she still loves me. And I'll probably talk about her a little bit on a later video. And then I'm trying to think who else came through. Oh, yes, my father in law came through. And he was a bishop when he made a mistake and fell for his assistant, who unfortunately I think she was just wanting security. I don't really think she held a deep love for him, and he gave up everything for her. Gave up the church, gave up his family. I mean, he still, would do his, pay the bills and stuff and take care of his children financially. He was very good that way, and left his wife, and she never got over that. It was very sad. But, the nice thing about her is she would when the other woman's kids would come to church, she would have them sit by her, and she would help them sing the hymns. She would point to the words where they were. She was very kind. She would have them over and feed them and let the kids, her kids play with the other woman's kids, and made sure that was kind of a blended family. So, but she was heartbroken. She just could never forgive the other woman, and that should be another um, video about that, to forgive while you can still forgive, because it was really tragic. But anyway, my father-in-law came through, and I seen him, and we were outside working in the yard with the with his children, and I see him. He's at a table and he's reading, and no one seemed to see him but me. And I went over to him. I said, "Hi, how are you doing?" He says he's doing good. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm so surprised to see you here. And he says, well, I'm just studying. And I said, what are you studying? He says, I'm studying God's word. And I asked him why. He says, well, I made a really big mistake in this life. I didn't protect my family from this other woman. And I do not want to make that mistake again. I do not want to make another mistake like that again. I want to protect my family. And he really meant it. I feel him now. I think that is a deep regret he had. And I think he tries to make it up to his family from the other side, because they can help us in unseen ways when they're on the other side. And I'm so grateful to know that. I'm so grateful that I was able to see him and have that talk with him. And I was able to tell my husband, his son, what I had seen. And my husband sometimes would mock me for these dreams, but sometimes he was really interested and told me I should write them down. My kids would tell me I should write them down because they rang true a lot of times. Anyways, so that is how my dreams started really just coming to me like crazy. I'm going to close for now, and I think when I pick up, I'll talk about some other dreams that I've had and maybe what I've learned from them. So I'm feeling a little emotional now because I can feel my father-in-law. Anyways, thank you for being with me, and please share your experiences either on video or share them here in the comment section. I would love to read your experiences. I would love for us to share with each other and help each other grow and help us to make it through this crazy world, this crazy time we're going through, because I know that we are going someplace that's going to be wonderful, someplace where there is going to be harmony. And I am so looking forward to it. And I know you are too. So, with that, I wish you a good day. You take care. Bye.